Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Legal Soft Podcast. My name is Cameron Hastings, and I'm here joined by our amazing guest today, Sid Mohasseb. Alrighty, Sid's here with us to give us some insight on growing law firms and going into 2024 with all the technology and the advances in what we think of as a business model. We're going to kind of take that apart and restructure it and see what insights that Sid can give us. Sid, welcome to the podcast.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. It was super interesting during our pre-interview. I think the concept that you had for that new business model that you were talking about. You said you have what, are you publishing it somewhere, or do you have a book coming out pretty soon?
Yeah, it is being published at multiple places and considered by HBR and at Forbes and other places. But this is a structure that I have been practicing myself for a number of years. Just as a matter of reference, I've built 4 or 5 companies,
Right.
exited and sold a number,
Hmm.
and I've made investments in a lot of companies. I'm as a venture investor and an angel investor.
Right.
So I know a thing or two about succeeding and failing,
Yeah.
and scaling. I joke around. I say, I was 6'2" when I started
Oh,
my
yeah.
journey. I mean,
The stress. The
I'm
stress.
about 5'3" now.
The
So,
stress got you down.
well,
Right.
it pounded me down.
Right.
So I
Right.
started my first business when I was in college.
Really.
So the mindset that hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about, and the fresh look at how do you run a business is kind of the benefit of years of practice and seeing what works and what doesn't work.
Right. Right.
And I've just for your audience's purpose, I have a couple of books, so I have some of these ideas that has percolated in those books.
Right. Right.
And I do a lot of writing at from Time magazine to Independent and Foreign Policy and Newsweek and USA Today, and so I do a lot of writing.
Right.
And I'm also a professor at USC,
Hmm.
University of Southern California, where I
Yeah. It's
teach
just up the street.
just up the street, where I teach both in engineering and business school.
Gotcha.
So the practice that I've had exposure to is both from an academic perspective, if you would, and a
Hmm.
practical perspective,
Right.
and what I've seen in making investments in lots and lots of companies
Because
over the.
you've actually experienced that,
Yes.
right? I mean, I know that there's a lot of people out there giving business advice or advice to firms that they've never started their own business or their own firm before, but they're just giving advice, right? And I feel like knowing that weight behind it, what you bring to the table as far as your experience goes, I think that's huge. Absolutely. I think learning from somebody that's started, 3 businesses and 2 of them failed is better than someone that started 1 business and it went successful, right? I think there's a lot to be gained in knowledge from somebody like that. So I'm really happy to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope I say something that provokes some of your audience to do something different and prosper.
I'm sure you will. Yeah, our pre-interview alone had me scratching my head, thinking, "Wait a second, what can I be doing differently?" So, let's jump into your business model that you say you've redefined. How does your concept of a new business model for firms, how does that like change in the perspective of a normal business model? So you have your traditional, and then
Yeah,
yours is something different entirely, right?
sure. So let me start by saying uh, um, that we are all different.
Mm-hmm.
So I like I sometimes I think this idea of best practices actually kills people and innovation and so forth. Um, there are certain things in business that are uh, structured and you should know and you should practice. Uh, Good accounting.
Yeah.
good marketing, focusing on the cost side and and all of those are mechanical things you can learn or you can hire people who know how to do it better,
Right.
right? But uh, each one of us have a different background, different intellect level. We have different employees. They're from different places. They've come from different backgrounds. We have come from a different background. We have certain money, or don't have money, or don't have parents, or have parents, or
Right.
schooling. All of that makes us completely different. So we're not all Elon Musk. We're not all Bill Gates. We're not all any of these Warren Buffetts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
They are them because they have practiced entrepreneurship in their way. So the concept that I'd like to talk to you about is centered around this idea of exchange, and let me unfold that and then and
Yeah.
then pull it back together. So if you go back to the history of entrepreneurship, the word entrepreneur was first used by a Frenchman in the 1700s.
Interesting. Okay.
And it meant this is the way he used it. It's someone, an entrepreneur is someone who has something. It could be a product, it could be an idea, it could be his time. He has something who likes to exchange that with something of higher value. So if you have something, you want to exchange it for higher value,
Mm-hmm.
you are by definition an entrepreneur.
Interesting.
About 50, 60 years later, an Irishman added the definition of risk to it and said, if you are someone who has something, an idea, your time, a service, a product, who wants to exchange it with something of higher value, knowing that there is risk, you are an entrepreneur. That is, it's not guaranteed that you can take your product and you can exchange it and it necessarily would lead to something of higher value.
Right.
Now, notice the definition of higher value is also unknown here.
That's what I was going to say. How do you
Okay?
define higher value?
You define
Is
higher
it
value because you are unique as an entrepreneur. So, with that definition, I'll say Mother Teresa was an entrepreneur. She had something. Martin Luther King was an entrepreneur. He had something. He knew that there was a risk.
mm-hmm.
He took the risk. Had he exchanged his background, his effectiveness, his preaching, his capital that he was getting from people to exchange that for freedom,
Right.
or in Mother Teresa's case, exchange it for solving poverty.
Mm-hmm.
So the definition of what you exchange it with is entirely yours as an entrepreneur. Okay.
Now, when you
Now,
have that mindset of you're creating the value, what you perceive to be a higher value item, when you have that, how do you get others to perceive that it's
aha!
worth that higher value?
Now we go. Now we go. There's first of all, that's where the risk comes in.
Right.
Okay, that if you think this is of higher value, that's what I want, and they don't think what you're providing really delivers that higher value because they are entrepreneurs too. They have an exchange just like you and I.
Right.
So if their exchange is not met, then there is no activity. There is no exchange. If what they want, what value they expect to deliver. Because let's take a customer. A customer pays you. They expect to get something. And it's more than functionality of a product.
Right.
They expect to get something.
Well,
And if that something doesn't have value, they won't pay you.
yeah.
So they're not willing to provide something that they have, money, and exchange that with something of higher value because they don't see the higher value coming in from you.
Right.
So this is where the conflict begins essentially because there are different exchange relationships. Now let's back up. This exchange relationship is you can see it everywhere in our daily life, in our business life. Um, in daily life, you have a son, you have a daughter, you want to spend time with them, you make a choice. Do I do A or do I do B, or what would make him or her happy?
Right.
You interact with your employees in a certain way, and they want something and you want something. Uh, it's always you make this exchange. You may try to go to work in the morning and feel okay, and you take the long way home.
Hmm.
So you take a road by the ocean because that's the exchange that you are looking for, as opposed to speed to your office.
Right.
So we're exchanging all the time. So are others. So now let's look at a business. The conventional model is that you have a business in order to make money, and that is the reason you have a business. Make a profit, generate revenue, make a profit.
Well, that's why most people start businesses too,
Correct.
right? I mean, it's really easy to get caught up in nowadays. You know, people, they talk a big talk, so they talk about passion and this and that, but it's I feel like it's rarely the actual case, right? Most of the time, we start a business, we start a firm to make money. That's just how it works
Yes,
traditionally.
traditionally. Now, the thing is, this passion thing is also, I think, being oversold by some.
Hmm.
Uh, and I hate to say this, I do a lot of speaking, motivational speaking. So I
Right.
was gonna say, it's oversold by some motivational speakers.
Hmm.
My passion is painting. That doesn't necessarily mean that I can make money off of it or
Right.
make a living off of it. I suck at it.
Yeah.
I'm just, yeah, it's my passion, but I like DJing, but I can't make a living off of it.
Right.
So there's a balance to kind of explore that passion with, um, so the point is this. The point is that most of us, when we start a business, we think that we are making money. We generate a business in order to make money,
Hmm.
right? That's our exchange,
Right.
right?
And we're putting the risk out by the
By the
investments, by
investments, by okay. So here's what happens though. What happens is that the money we make is not is only an effect. It's an outcome.
it's a byproduct.
It's a byproduct of who? The customer who makes the decision. We're not in control. People talk about, oh, we have a great sales team and this and that and that. Well, until that guy, that person, that company, that individual decides to buy from you, it doesn't matter how great of a sales rep you have.
Right. Right.
It's irrelevant. The
I mean,
decision of a transaction of that exchange is in their hands, not your hands.
hmm we talked to a couple like firm owners. They'll say we have a great intake team. Intake teams, the first point of contact with the clients.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we have a great intake team, but at the end of the day, you're not getting any cases, right? So dive deeper. Why is that? You say you have a great intake team, and sure they're selling it, but sometimes it's not always about selling, right?
It's never about selling.
Okay.
It is never about selling. Selling means I take control of your decision. You are the buyer. You make that decision. Until I give you something, and we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's take a case that's pretty clear. Uh, let's take someone who buys a Louis Vuitton bag for $4,000.
Hmm.
The functionality of that bag is exactly the same as a $10 bag. You could put your stuff in it
Yeah.
and carry it around. But why would they pay $4,000? It's a bundle of satisfaction. It's something more. There's something more. That is, I go, to a party and I feel good. My friends would say, "Oh, look at her, she's all that," or for whatever reason, or I just feel good because I've made it,
Right.
right? So let's take another example. Let's say somebody buys a Ferrari. Okay, Some of your audience, I'm sure, are Ferrari
We, we
drivers.
we like Ferraris.
Yes.
Ferraris are nice.
But you don't buy it as a means of transportation.
It's a status symbol,
A,
right?
a Honda is a means of transportation. So is an Audi. So is a Volvo. So you picked that car because it provides you with a bundle of satisfaction, a collection of things that satisfies you. It's not necessarily if I have a little baby and I'm more safety conscious, I may buy a Volvo. If I'm more about consistency and I don't want my car to break, I may buy a Toyota.
Right.
If I'm after, hey, the residual value of the car in 6 years or 5 years or 4 years should be good, I may buy a Honda. They're all means of transportation, but they deliver a different value package, right? So first, we have to realize that the people, the customers, have an exchange or a bundle of satisfaction.
They they have like a threshold that you need to hit in order for them to feel
They,
okay. This is a worthy
this
exchange.
is a worthy exchange.
Right.
Okay? That worthy exchange is based on their bundle of satisfaction. Here's what. If you have figured out what that bundle of satisfaction is, with all due respect to all good salespeople, you could put a monkey there and they'll do the transaction because they see it's to their advantage.
Right.
A good salesman is the one that provides visibility, clarity, because confused buyers don't buy. If they provide clarity of the exact value package value that they get, they'll buy. They have the decision. We don't have the decision.
Interesting. So kind of changing that perspective, right?
So you're changing the perspective. Exactly right. So we're going to go from reasons. This is the redefined model. We're going to go from reasons to effects. The effects or outcome would be the profit. I'm not promoting that, we'll all be non-for-profit and go into this kumbaya thing. No,
Yeah.
we,
Right.
we are creating a business. We want to make money,
Mm-hmm.
but realize that making that money, making that profit, is an effect, not the cause, not the reason.
Right. So instead of I did this and it gave me X revenue this quarter or what have you.
Correct.
So instead of focusing on, oh, let me do that again because it's proven it gave me the X revenue, how do you change that perspective? What is that perspective change?
The perspective change is first a realization that we, as a business owner, do not have the decision making power that we think. We just don't.
Mm-hmm.
We can't shove anything down anybody's mouth. It's now there are exceptions. I have the cure for cancer, and you have cancer, and this is the only thing. Yeah, I could demand whatever I want. There are relationships, and there are things that would, but 99% of business is a choice by people that they can make a choice.
Right. And
Okay.
those are the outliers too, right? I mean, we're talking less than 1%.
Yeah. It's very few that this model wouldn't work for, and those are extreme extreme situations of a company dominates a market, and those things. Yes.
So why do you think that a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people starting their own businesses or their own firms even, why do you think they're stuck in that mindset of that works for the 1%, thinking it works for the 100%?
Well, that's a good question. Because that's all the books and all those people who go up there and say, make money, do this, sales for. Somebody has to sell a sales program.
Right.
Okay? But they sell a sales program. They don't go into saying, okay, you as an attorney, you as a product owner, you as a manufacturer, you as a consultant, you as whatever you are, let's examine if your value exchange is right. Let's go to the root of what they want. So I don't know if you've been to London.
Not as of yet.
Okay. So when people are renting a place, if you look into rent a place, there are signs that says to let. Here we have for rent.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the dynamics difference of where the power is. To let gives the owner the power. I am letting you
To let you stay at my place
to let you stay and
for
rent,
the exchange of
as
X amount
opposed
of
to
value.
for rent. The decision is with the renter. This is for rent,
Interesting.
right? We have the signs, we have but we forget, and this is going above this customer centric approach, by the way, because let's unfold that a little more.
Yeah.
Most people think I hired so and so. I hired that employee. I gave him a package of, I don't know, $100,000 a year plus benefits. So the power seems to be with the employer. But in reality, the power is with the employee. The employee decided that this exchange at $100,000 with this benefit package works for her or him.
It was worth the value. It met their
It met their
value.
exchange. Now, they didn't say what they will bring to the table. They didn't say, I'm going to be 100% here. They maybe figured out, you're close, I can spend more time with my kid at home. They may thought that, this is a 9 to 5 job, I have something else to do afterwards. They did not promise to bring all of their capabilities, innovation, 4 o'clock in the morning, all of that. They never promised that. You gave them $100,000 and they decided that for that $100,000 and for that package, they will give you this. They made
Right.
that exchange. You think you made that exchange,
Interesting.
but they did.
And I think that is the difference between employees specifically too. You've got one employee that is coming in early, leaving late, putting in time on weekends, what have you, on vacation still answers the phone. Then you have another employee that does their clock. They clock in, they clock out, they go home.
They chose
It's
that's the exchange
right.
that they're given, the relationship they have with the company.
Gary Vee has a really interesting way of proposing this as well. I'm not sure, you probably know Gary Vee, right? Yeah. So he has a very interesting way of saying this too, is that he talks about how a lot of business owners, which goes the same for law firm owners, feel as though the employees they have should value the business the same. They just don't, and it shouldn't, right? Unless you hit that value threshold for the employee.
That's the thing.
Right?
No, I expect them to do so as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to give them a reason to do so.
Right.
I have to tell them why they buy this bag for $4,000. I have to give them that feeling. People at Google do. Because they feel that on their resume it extends their reach, their connections. So there are companies that actually provide some external extra things. Maybe it's food at lunch or what they could take home, or maybe they improve the package, the bundle of satisfaction, to a level where you'll say, yeah, some have cause-driven stuff. Oh, saving the environment, saving the whales, saving the whatever.
Yeah.
Some cause, and because the people resonate with that cause, then their value exchange shifts. It's not, they're no longer working for $100,000 in a benefit package. They are working for a cause, $100,000 in a benefit package.
Right.
Now, let's say that same employee has two kids, 1.5 and 2.5 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and the husband works and travels. So, what would she prefer? $90,000 if this place is right next to her home, or maybe work from home and $80,000,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe a company provides child services.
Right.
So the package changes depending on where people are. You heard about this quiet quitting notion.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It absolutely reflects this exchange. People are saying, "Hey, I'm not willing. I don't think I'm worth $50 an hour. I'm worth 100.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to give me 50? I'll work as much as 50.
Their value threshold changes.
Their value
Right.
threshold changes.
Now, and I think that's super important too, is going into having a relationship, whether your employees are remote or local, having that relationship with them is super important. What I've seen done across a lot of different firms too is, and in fact, here at LegalSoft, we've got a like question. It's almost a questionnaire that will go through various options, and this gets sent to every employee, and they just fill it out. It's usually simple yes or no answers, and then a little paragraph at the bottom. But essentially, what it does is it helps us understand the motivations, where your value threshold is. If I'm going to sit here and let's say an employee did really good one quarter, and the next quarter they're not doing so good, right? We're halfway through the quarter. Well, I go, well, let's give you, let's do a $5,000 bonus or whatever you want to do. Sometimes that employee is going to perform the exact same for that $5,000 bonus as they would without it, because that's not what their motivation is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not meeting where their value is. It could be a cause. It could be donating or this or that.
Yeah.
Right?
So let's again go through this, and because we can see how the role of leaders would be impacted if you start thinking this way. So
Right.
first, the buying decision is by the customer.
Mm-hmm.
The employment decision is by the employee. There are 5 pillars in any company, doesn't matter what company it is: the customer, the employee, the partners you deal with.
Right.
This
That'd
could be
be
a supply chain. This
investors.
could no. Then there's investors.
Oh, separate. Okay.
Okay, and you have the society you interact with. So we've got 5 pillars. These 5 pillars, they're all people.
Mm-hmm.
They're all subject to exchange. So let's say you're dealing with an investor. The assumption is an investor is only looking for money or a return. Right? I give you $1 million, you give me back something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I mentioned, I'm an angel investor. I make a lot of investments in early stage investments in companies. In that context, I'm looking for 10x, 20x of my money
Eventually, through equity or
in
whatever.
5 or 10 years.
Right.
But there could be somebody else who's an investor of a real estate property, and he expects return, profits every month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are 2 different exchanges. Or somebody invests in the stock market. They're investors, but they have a different set of criteria. They sometimes, for example, my mother-in-law passed away from cancer,
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
and I have an affinity for that in my heart. So I may make an investment in a company that is looking for cure for cancer, knowing that it's a much longer shot
Mm-hmm.
than a technology company that I really understand and I know how to help them, and I know that one I don't understand. I'm not, I'm
But
not a physician, but I would make the investment. In my mind, the satisfaction, the bundle of satisfaction has shifted. It has another element in it that I'm helping a cause.
interesting. That goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, right? Your past, your history, your life. It changes
Makes
your bundle
you,
of satisfaction.
makes every investor different, makes every CEO different, makes every employee different, makes every customer different.
Interesting.
So we have a variety of situations,
Mm-hmm.
and you have people saying, okay, let's do customer profiling, because you're trying to see who are the same kind of, so that when I create this value, it would resonate with all of them.
I did want to get a quick a quick question from you. As far as when we're going into 2024, what should law firm owners or business owners in general, what should they it's called start, stop, continue. So what should they start doing in 2024? What should they stop doing entirely? And then what should they continue doing that's going to help them increase revenue or increase their value that they're providing to their pillars?
Let's start with the continue.
Okay, let's do it.
I am fairly optimistic about the 2024 and beyond in terms of economy, in terms of what it holds. So it's if you're struggling or if you're not doing well or even if you are, the opportunity ahead is promising.
Right.
So continue. Because there's opportunity. In some areas, you'll say, "Oh, this thing is completely going broke. There's no opportunity." So the opportunity is really interesting.
Continue pursuing.
Continue pursuing the value delivery. Continue pursuing your business. Now, there are pockets. For example,
Hmm.
I think there is a tremendous amount of opportunity in legal cases and therefore work
Hmm.
uh, in the AI business. There's these rules and regulations coming in from Europe, and people have to be accountable for what models they're using. Is it biased? Is it not biased? Is it hallucinating? Is it not hallucinating? Is it all that sort of stuff?
Right.
And in laws, there are some serious liability. So you'll see a lot of stuff there.
Oh, well, we are definitely going to see it. We're
Okay.
already seeing it going into
Oh,
2024.
you're going to see
But
lots and lots of stuff there.
and also I think utilizing AI in your firm, if you haven't tried it
So
already,
that
you
was the other
need
thing
to.
and say, stop being afraid of AI.
Love it.
Okay?
Yep.
It's going to come. If you're so routine and not yes, it'll take your job if you are not creative, if you're not innovative, if you are a machine. If you are a machine, you shouldn't be making this much money anyway as an attorney. Okay?
Right.
Let's get rid of that now because you're an overhead as opposed to a contributor.
Uh-huh.
If an AI is like when you used Westlaw to go research,
Hmm.
shouldn't you have gone to the library and taken every book and go through it as opposed to searching? That would have been nice. So why are you using that? Because it's a tool. It's expedited your productivity, helped you do a lot more. There is stuff on the jury selection with AI. There's stuff about the uh, back office, management, the accounting side, all of that. There's
Oh,
lots
absolutely.
of things that AI can do. Now, some people say, somebody asked me and says, "Well, I don't trust AI with medicine." I said, "Why? What do you know about it?"
Interesting.
He says, "Well, when I Google I have these symptoms. Google comes back to me, and I really don't have that problem." I said, "First of all, who said Google is
It's
a
not.
medical AI system?
Yeah.
That's an illusion that you've come up with yourself, and it's
Hmm.
part of the media thing.
Yeah.
So pick the right partners who know what they're doing."
Yeah.
And don't be afraid. So stop being afraid of AI.
Stop being afraid of AI. I love that, especially too because when people, firms included, they first start using AI or Chat GBT, for example, they don't know how to properly prompt it. It takes time. You have to learn it. You have to make sure it's a whole new language with the AI. So you have to prompt it correctly, and you have to build a model for yourself that's going to work for your firm or going to work for your business.
Absolutely.
And people don't. They're too quick to stop. I think with AI,
So
it
here's
takes an
the thing. I've
investment of
got
time.
news for you.
Yeah.
You built the best system today.
Hmm.
You have to change it in a year.
Yeah.
So
Right.
this is one of those things that you said, this is changing. You
It's
got to
always
get
going to
with it.
change. Yeah.
You got to get with it. This is a changing environment. Either you demise and you fail and you leave and you're done, or you grow and change and evolve. That's
It's one of the two.
it's
Yeah.
one of the two, and
Absolutely.
and we have the choice.
Hmm.
And for the legal folks, they're pretty smart people. Hey, get with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
No. Absolutely.
So and in terms of starting,
Hmm.
I would say start realizing the exchanges that you have. Start realizing the exchanges that your employees, your customers, your partners, the society, and potentially your investors. By the way, you are an investor if you've made your own money. That's if you own and you invest, then you are the investor.
Right.
And your family are your shareholders. So start realizing these 5 pillars. First, what is their value expectation? What is that bundle of satisfaction? And I guarantee you, if you get this harmonization process right and lead as a harmonizer of these, if your customers get the bundle of satisfactions, they'll sign up.
Wonderful.
When they don't, they won't sign up,
And that's where you're
regardless of
seeing,
how good your salesman's gift of the gab is.
right. And that's where you're seeing a loss of cases.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Sid, so much.
Pleasure to be with
I
you.
wanted to chat about your radio show and where our audience could find you online.
Well, my name, if you type it, you're gonna be finding me a lot of different places on
We'll find it.
usual social media stuff. Um,
We'll link
I
all of Sid's socials below. That way you guys can follow his journey. Also, you did a couple amazing TED Talks, which were fantastic.
yes, I
listened to
would
those
encourage
too.
people to watch. The first one was done actually quite a long time ago,
Mhm.
and I kind of crystal ball. I said, "Hey, here's what's coming." And guess what? I thought it would 5, 10 years it will come. It came sooner than what I expected.
It always happens. Yeah.
And the last one is about it's titled "Are you the artist, or the entrepreneur?"
Hmm.
And it talks about this notion of change
Right.
and entrepreneurship.
I think that could be really beneficial for our audience, especially, lawyers starting their law firms. They may not think it, but they are entrepreneurs.
Yep.
They are starting, right. Like you said, they're investing that value, and they have something to give, and something that
The key is
hopefully,
that if you're starting your business and say, "I want to make money," that's
Mhm.
your exchange. But other people don't want you to make money. They want themselves to make money.
Right.
They want themselves to get. If you go to the other side and look at what they want, you'll have a much better business than if you're focused. If you're gonna only get your own business, you're the provider. You
Mhm.
hire yourself. You pay yourself. You deliver it to yourself. You win the cases for yourself.
Then you're all
Then you
set.
don't need anybody else.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. They are the ones who are paying you. They are the ones who are providing the environment, the capabilities that you can achieve the
Those
effect or the outcome
those
which would be
relationships
much.
are so important, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Harmonizing those 5 pillars with your new business model. I think that's super important. Thank you so much, Sid, for being here. Thank you guys for joining us at the Legal Soft podcast. We'd love to have Sid on again some other time. If you guys have questions for him or for us, don't be sure to mention it in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. We're doing new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Thank you guys so much.